Welcome back to Scouting for Growth, the podcast where we uncover the bold founders reimagining risk, trust, and growth for a new era of business. Today's guest is someone who decided that building insurance shouldn't feel like filling out tax returns. Meet Andrei Craciunescu, the founder and CEO of RiskCube, a Y Combinator-backed insurtech that is rebuilding commercial insurance for the ground up, faster, smarter, and founder first. Before founding RiskCube, Andrei lived the complexity of the system from the inside. First, as a financial mathematician at TU Munich, then at WTW, where he built AI-powered underwriting tools for some of the world's largest commercial insurers. But what he saw there sparked a bigger question. If we can automate underwriting for Fortune 500s, why can't we make protection instant for startups? That question became RiskCube, an intelligent insurance agency designed for venture-backed startups and SMBs who want protection at the speed of growth, not the pace of paperwork. So, in this conversation, we'll explore why the next generation of insurance will be built like software, adaptive, transparent, and embedded into every business platform, how AI and data are transforming the role of the broker from middleman to intelligent orchestrator, and what the insurance experience of 2030 could look like when protection become invisible and trust become the new currency. Andrei is part mathematician, part builder, and 100% believer that finance, insurance can fuel innovation instead of slowing it down. So buckle up, because this episode isn't just about changing finance or insurance. It is about redesigning how founders experience risk itself in today's highly uncertain world. Hi, Andrei. Welcome to the Scouting for Growth podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's bring a bit of context. Andrei, who are you? What got you into insurance? I read that you were at WTW once upon a time.
Yeah, so during my studies in mathematics at the University of Munich, I did my first internship during college time, and I went to a life insurance company. So these are the only company who wanted me as an intern without experience. So this is how I got into insurance. Then I switched, during the end of my master's, I switched to Munich Re Asset Manager. This is where I spent 8 months on the asset management side. So I went from a carrier to a reinsurance company, and then I ended up after my studies at WTW, where I was, I think, the first hire in the risk analytics team back then in Germany on the brokerage side. So this is how I got to on this brokerage world, and I stayed there for 5 years. And I did a lot on the brokerage side, and then I ended up in research as well. I was a researcher at the Technical University of Munich for risk management and insurance in combination with WTW.
Yes, good. And we are here today at ITC Vegas, right? Evaluating the innovation partly on artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Anything which has impressed you so far?
Yeah, what impressed me so far is that everybody talks clearly about AI, but also about that we need to be a bit more skeptical about using everything. So this really impressed me because everybody's pushing on the AI front.
Yeah.
But the insurance market is also evaluating if it's really necessary in all the workflows, or if we can just do the things that really worked us in the last year. So this really impressed me that it's not all in, I would say.
In AI.
Yeah.
So, Andrei, you mentioned that you were in Munich, right? You have gone from financial mathematics at TU Munich to AI-driven underwriting at WTW. And now you are building your own company, RiskCube, which is wonderful, which is, I have to say, a Y Combinator-backed startup. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And you are doing this in insurance. So what was the moment when you decided it's time for me to leave WTW to build my own venture?
Yeah, so as previously also mentioned, so I was on many insurtech events. I saw many problems in the market, and I also realized that the legacy systems that are in place in the biggest insurance companies and reinsurance companies very difficult to change. And then I was thinking about how will this market look like in 10 to 20 years, and I was thinking about building something on my own. And then I applied to Y Combinator with an idea, for a tech idea, so tech enabling insurance brokerage. And yeah, so this is how we got in. It was back then also the hurricane in Florida, so there were many problems coming up, and the traditional market cannot, the prices increased a lot. The market cannot solve them at the moment. This was the perfect time to apply for a new solution, and this is how I got there. And now, I mean, looking at the whole landscape also in Silicon Valley, what companies want from the insurance market is that they want fast underwriting. They want not so much talk with humans anymore, especially startups. They want to have a quote in minutes and not in months anymore. And this is how we got into this segment where we offer now business insurance for startups, mainly venture-backed startups.
So you moved from Munich, Germany to United States, and you went to Y Combinator. So where are you now? Are you still in the US?
Yeah, so we are based in San Francisco. So we are headquartered there. We have a new office now there. So we are also licensed now in California as a broker. And we went through the whole processes, but we are mainly in California now. Yeah.
Which needs a lot of help around insurance, as we know, right? So you have seen how traditional brokers work, right? With great WTW. I mean, the team over there is absolutely wonderful, and the innovation they are actually working on is fascinating, and we are lucky to have common friends there. But, you know, when you think about traditional brokers in general, right? Endless forms, opaque pricing, slow processes. So when you talk about startup founders today, what emotion do you pick up when they think about buying insurance? Partly to Gen Zs, right?
Yeah.
You see frustration, confusion, some resignation.
I think it's more confusion. So there are some providers out there who already offer what we are doing, but there is no comparison. So every founder needs to go to every insurance company separately and ask for a quote. And then they're confused because they get different quotes and the prices vary a lot. So sometimes 40% difference between quotes, and they don't know why. And this is where we wanted to also come in and say, okay, you have different quotes, and now we can tell you this is the task of a broker or an insurance agency to really help you with this. But they are very frustrated because they spend a lot of time to investigate these quotes, and startup insurance is not the typical business to underwrite for a traditional carrier, so it's very difficult to find carriers in general. And then when they found them, it's expensive and it's not really understandable insurance language to really make decisions on their own. So they are very frustrated in the end on what to choose exactly.
Yeah, we've seen that, and I think it's not probably those founders who might be technology founders, right, surrounding you in California. Yeah. This is probably a global problem.
Yeah.
So let's talk about RiskCube, right? What is the promise you are bringing to market, right, with your, I guess, insurance build for speed and no paperwork? So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so in general, RiskCube is an AI insurance agency for startups, and founders can use RiskCube to buy and manage insurance online. So this is what we promise. So this is our value proposition. And what we mean with buy is that they can go to our website, they can click on get a quote, and then in the end they get a certificate of insurance as a return. The difference is that now we can also compare online. So in Germany there's a very fantastic platform for this. It's called Check24. This works since 2000, but unfortunately it doesn't exist in the US for commercial lines. So it's just easy to access coverage and buy it online. So this is what we mean and for our value proposition. Yeah.
And so how do you actually balance the fact that you want to stay, I guess, fast, you want to provide speed, but at the same time, you want to make sure whatever you offer your customer is compliant?
Yeah, so we started really to build the company first. So we didn't think so much about the technology. So we wanted to build the firm and then embed the technology inside of the firm. This is also what makes us defensible in the future because we will own the data in our agency And with this data, we can also train our own models. So when customer come to us, the data is protected by us, and we are not uploading this in many systems. And also what we learned today at ITC is most agencies and broker are using a lot of different systems, CRM, workflow management systems, where the same data is uploaded all the time. And this is what we are doing. So we build the firm first and then embed the technology that we are using for ourselves. And this is what makes us special, I would say. Yeah.
I mean, some of the stats I collected to come and speak with you, Andrei, is 74% of small and medium-sized businesses say buying commercial insurance is too complex. And you are saying that too many options is too complex. The average commercial policy purchase can take up to 19 days. I mean, this is incredible. It's too long. I mean, you know, in the age of digital and artificial intelligence, that should happen in minutes. And then embedded and digital distribution channels, right, are expecting to be around $700 billion by 2029. I mean, some numbers say 1.5 trillion by 2032. What do you think about all this growth?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what we also expect on the platform side, and I think that the most important is also to close this protection gap there. So many businesses are still without insurance at all, and we are talking a lot about AI, about agentic AI, but there are still businesses who don't even have insurance at all. And maybe it's in Europe different than in the US, but it's a different mindset here, and this is exactly what you just mentioned is it's the path forward, I would say, on the platform side. What we see.
So let's talk about the machine behind the magic, right? We are, as I said, we are at a conference, ITC Vegas, and we had an event yesterday where we are trying to demystify, you know, AI horizon for 2030, so 5 years from now. And what we realize, it's a combination of AI, data, and governance, right? In addition to making sure that the value chain is aligned and we understand our distribution. So you are building what you call an AI insurance agency, as you mentioned earlier, not just digitizing processes, but fundamentally automating risk intelligence. So what does that look like under the hood? Can you tell us? And how far can AI really go before it risks losing that human touch?
Yeah, so what we really did is to look at what an agency is traditionally doing. So they have different processes in place, like application for insurance, renewal, cancellation, and claims. And we try to map out all these processes and see which processes can be done by AI agents and what not. So where can we use old methods, for example, calling a customer still to build a relationship. And there's some limitations, also what we learned yesterday from my ex-colleague Magda, that AI cannot solve the whole insurance value chain, but we saw on claims, for example, there's a huge adoption on the claim side.
Absolutely.
We don't need to do this, so we just submit the claims to the underwriter, but it's a very fast speed now on the claim side. And for example, the application process. This is something that is not even digitized yet. So we digitize it and then use AI to really understand the recommendation. So what would you recommend to our customer? So this is definitely all possible, and we just see limitation on the risk side. So when we predict risk, we need to stay still compliant with the regulator that we really need to understand what we recommend. So this is where the limitation is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday it's true. We were talking a lot about, you know, where the opportunity were. And I think when we went through this exercise, a lot of the conclusion were claims, right? Yeah. And I can see when you start looking at the opportunity around claims, you have the triage, the subrogation, fraud detection, all this can be automated. And a lot of innovation has gone across those little micro moments of the claims process to improve that customer experience. But what you are saying is risk assessment, risk management, you know, making it faster for a business owner to actually get that insurance in just a few clicks. But from your side, making sure that you can actually offer a policy that can be covered, right? So how do you reconcile the two?
Yeah, so what we are basically doing is let's assume we have 3 carriers and you have 3 quotes. But based on your risk, then you need to understand what is the best quote. So this is where this whole total cost of risk discussion is coming from. It's just that the broker and the agencies are not familiar so much with the risk part. This was more task of the carrier or the reinsurance companies. But it became more and more important that the companies nowadays understand the risk part also. But this is where AI limitations is coming from. When you make a recommendation, you really need to understand why this is the recommendation. And this is where the OpenAI, Claude, and so on, they cannot do this. So because you really need to understand this. Even when they predict something, we are liable for the recommendation. So we want to take traditional statistical methods that are perfectly explainable and then use AI for policy documentation, to read documents and so on. So where it's not so important to have a licensed producer in the middle that makes a mistake. So this is what we would like to leverage, this licensed task, and free up work for the agents. This is the goal here.
You know, I was reading a piece of research from the SAS, from SAS, and this piece of research just came out probably a week ago. It is around data and AI impact study, which is a SAS and IDC piece of research. And it's all about the trust dilemma. And I'm thinking about the young entrepreneur, right, trying to find insurance and actually realizing that trusting AI-driven products is not always easy. So how do we reconcile this? Because you already mentioned explainability, right? You know, fairness, all these ingredients which are so important with regulation. So how do you actually integrate those governance elements, which you already mentioned, explainability, but I guess it's transferability, but also fairness that needs to be embedded in the design of the product?
Yeah, I think especially for AI, you need clean data, and we will store data in our own database. I think this is where we can earn a lot of trust from our customers, because we don't send data to any third-party provider. We will not take, for example, OpenAI or ChatGPT and ingest data from the customer there. So we will build our own AI solution where we can really control the whole data. And this is one of the most important things from my perspective in insurance, because people are using a lot of AI nowadays, but nobody really understands where the data is really going to. Especially when I look at the CRMs in the US that are used by insurance agencies, it's not very clear where the data is hosted. So we will host data in California, we will host it on their cloud in California, and this is the main difference where we can really earn trust from the customers that data protection is a big thing in insurance, and we really put this as a priority.
Yeah. And critical in an age where, as I said, the trust is a little bit wearing off. And so where the data is, how the data is used, and actually how you use that data to drive value creation rather than, poor behavior is going to be critical. So another question that comes to mind, Andrei, is we're entering an era where there is blurred line, right? And this line between the broker, the MGA, and the carrier are just becoming really undefined. So where do you see the real frontier when you start thinking about distribution in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, what we see in the US is there are many captive agencies like State Farm or Allstate or Farmers Insurance. They all own their own distribution. So they are not only the carrier, they're also the broker. And in Europe, it's a bit different. So there's more independent.
Yeah.
But we would like to see more in the future, more independent agencies that a bit like decentralized ones, where the customer still has the brand. Like, for example, on the State Farm side, they go to State Farm because they trust the brand. But it should be also possible in the future that they just go to an independent agency. They trust us as much as they would trust the captive agency. So this is where I would like to see the agency market going to. But what we also saw, who is the most successful, are the captive agencies. So it seems that to build the whole distribution from insurance and brokerage is the most important way to go, to own the whole value chain. And this is, I would say, this could change in the future as well, to earn trust, but not only have big players who people trust. So to trust the whole insurance market as a whole, and then everybody takes profits.
Yeah, I mean, another angle which we discussed yesterday, or during this workshop, is that there are different parties and contenders, and there are going to be some winners, and I would say some winners which are winning a little bit less. So what do you see, and we talked about the hires and the scale-up growth ventures, big tech as well was part of the conversation we had. So when you look at this transformation happening in distribution, do you feel that the platform will win, the algorithm will win, or actually working into partnerships?
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of all of them, but for me, the most important problem that I also realized in the last 8 years is really the platform. There's so many platforms out there, and there's no really clean data to make risk predictions with AI, for example, and so on, even with explainability. So data is really the most important for insurance to understand risks. But if you have platforms all around the world where the data is not communicating with each other, that's really a big problem. So before AI, we really need to build the right foundation. And without the foundation, it's not possible to build a good platform. This is also one of the reasons why we decided to build the firm, because we want to make our homework is to build this foundation first up, even if it takes a bit longer. But we wanted to make sure that we have a clean database that we can use in the end, because this is what makes us special against the big carriers out there.
So, when you talk to the founders, those SMB that may become your customers, often, startup love to talk about technology, less so about governance, right? But governance in this case is very important for them. So how do you do that, right? How do you make sure that as you recommend the right product, and you mentioned that you are using the panel strategy, how do you make commercial risk less complex?
Yeah, I think the most of the founders, they don't really, as a general thing, they don't really care who is the insurance company in the background. The only thing what they really care is that they have someone who really understands them as a customer. So we analyze the risk for them. Like at the beginning, we start very basic. Do you have high, middle, or low risk? And based on this, we can evaluate then the policies. But this is completely enough for them. They just want, and there's a good example also from my combinator with Brex on the credit card side. Brex is also, there's a bigger bank in the background. But they were the first ones who had a credit card for startups. There was no credit card before. So this is what we want to be like Brex, but for startup insurance, where founders can come to us and they trust the system. They don't care if we are a carrier, an MGA, a range. They just want to buy it in a fast experience, and that just works for them. And this is what I think it's the main thing for them at the beginning. It's not very complicated what we are doing at the beginning, but just to have a smooth process where we can say, do you have a high, middle, or low risk? And then evaluate 3 quotes with each other. That's completely enough, but that's not there yet. Yeah.
So let's go back to a few statistics. And there's a lot of stats. We heard the 95% from MIT and the 77% from McKinsey. I will use the SAS and IDC numbers, which I've just seen. 88% of insurers use artificial intelligence, but only 12% have scaled it successfully. AI native agencies, which is what you are going to do, can reduce actually this underwriting cycle by 70%. So 19 days to probably less than half than that, while improving quote conversion by 3 to 5 times. And we believe by 2028, so just 3 years from now, over 50% of small and medium enterprises will be distributed via digital first intermediaries. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to see this, that also carrier provide APIs. I mean, here on ITC, I talk with many carriers, but they always have their own portal. So even when insurance companies adapt AI, they always do it for optimizing for themselves. They're not optimizing for the whole market. And this is what we want to do. We want to bring them all together in one channel. And because the startups or the small businesses, they will not understand. So the problem will not go away. So even by implementing AI much faster, by optimizing everything, it's just not there. We need really a layer in between the companies and the insurance. This would be the agencies normally, but they struggle a lot with technology. So they are not very tech driven, and especially they are not young people are not coming to this market anymore. There's not so much young people who build agencies, and then there's always the captive agencies who will control it. So even with what you just said, it's not going away the main problem that we can close this protection gap. It's just making it smoother the process, but it's not bringing more people coming to insurance.
Yeah, we have a major talent gap. And I guess when we look at the digital native, they are looking for digital first players who are going to give them the opportunity to play with the technology as well and build businesses and processes and I guess business models which are going to take advantage of the latest technology. Let's look into the future of protection. And question I have for you is, if we projected 5 years from now, right, the magic 2030, what does the founder's experience looks like when we start thinking about our industry, which is insurance?
Yeah, the founder experience of the future is that they have a simple platform, a bit similar. I always compare this to Check24 in Germany, but it's like there's just a simple platform where you can ingest, you can just submit a questionnaire and then you get live quotes. So this will be in 5 years possible on the commercial side. It will not be possible for companies above 500 million revenue. So I think there's a limitation for sure because risks get too complex. But I would say between a venture-backed company and a company who's doing around middle market, I would say 50 million to 500 million revenue, this would be possible to automate. So it's kind of also automated underwriting for commercial lines will be possible in 5 years. We see this at some bigger broker already doing it. WTW is already doing it at some points for some lines. But for founders, this will be definitely possible that they just can go to a platform, they can compare quotes and bind online in minutes.
So we often talk about embedded, right? Embedded distribution, we talked about it. Invincible insurance. So do you think that is our status quo when we actually still look at those 5 years from now? Are those small and medium enterprises expect the insurance to be embedded into anything they do?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that work already. So for example, when you buy glasses or when you buy a car, that some companies already offer embedded insurance. So you don't need to think so much anymore. But in the US, there's still a lot of gaps. So we see this more in Europe, this embedded insurance that works quite well, but not so much in the US, especially in California. So I think this will be will come more and more. But for this, it needs to be there that the processes are digitized already, because you need, when a customer comes to your store, wants to buy something, and you offer embedded insurance as the additional revenue channel, for example, for the SMBs, then it needs to be fast, clearly. So you need the rates should be there already and so on. So yeah, I see a big trend there coming that already worked in some other countries and could come here as well, like embedded insurance for commercial lines.
Yeah, I guess the friction you're talking about is the fact that whilst we are talking a lot about digital, it has not gone to the agency, because often those agencies are owned and probably led by more mature experts who are less technology savvy. But having founders like you, very much into the tech, will actually be able to move into digital friendly environment, which are a bit more attractive to the tech founder, at least who live in California. So you often said insurance shouldn't slow growth, right? It should actually fuel it, accelerate it continuously. So what would it take for insurers to finally see themselves as growth partners, not just risk absorbers?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the most important is they're really to adapt trends faster. So we saw in the last months, we struggled really to find carriers who underwrite AI insurance. And this is exactly where insurance carrier can enable even countries to make more money. I mean, the whole AI game is played between China and America now, and we need to be faster. We need to make decisions faster, and the insurance carrier need to be faster as well.
Well, OpenAI, right, cannot find insurance, so they are going to have to self-insure.
Yeah, exactly, self-insure, but there still needs to be some options. And even today, or even talking on ITC, we would like to see more carriers going into emerging risks to say, okay, what risks are coming up? And this is a big industry for the US, and we need to enable this industry that they can really grow without having the fear to be insolvent because they are getting sued on the D&O, and there's no D&O cover for AI CEOs, AI company CEOs. So this is where insurance carrier can or should go, that they can adapt trends faster with new products.
So, Andrei, on a more personal question or more personal note, if RiskCube succeeds, what will it change in people's lives?
Yeah, I would say when RiskCube succeeds, especially we start with P&C, but later we are also doing life and health. people see insurance really positive and not so negative anymore. As I also experienced this sometimes in the US, it's also healthcare is a big issue and so on. So I would say that you go to an insurance provider, you get your coverage, and you trust them. You trust them that you pay a premium, and in the end you get your claims paid out. And this is, I experienced this in Germany as well. So I was insured by a big private health insurance company, and yeah, it just worked. I submitted my receipt, but I see here so many issues by payouts. So I would say in 5 or in the future, I would like that people just go to or come to us or another provider and see insurance as a partner and not really the enemy in the end who you need to enforce the claim and so on. So this is what definitely we would like to see in the future.
So when you look at RiskCube, what is your plan around growth and scaling the platform?
Yeah, so our plan is to start with business insurance for startups and then go to expand the lines of business. So we should start with financial lines, so D&O, cyber, tech E&O, then go to property, and then offer also life and health. So we start just commercial, but my goal and would be my wish is to do also in the end something like RiskCube Direct, where we can just offer health insurance, because this is what would be just great. That this just works in the US. And it's such a great country that needs also good products. And they're really struggling on the insurance front. So this is what would be my wish, to go there at some point into the consumer market.
Yeah, I mean, insurance is a necessity, right? It's about protecting people.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the numbers you mentioned as well, the global protection gap, right? It was around 181 billion in 2024. Currently, we estimate the overall protection gap to be $1.8 trillion, as according to Swiss Re, driven by uninsured businesses and the fact that they can find business interruption insurance or cyber event protection. So there's something to be done here. And it is also important to note that every $1 invested in resilience actually saves $13 in future losses. So there is a reason to really look after those small and medium enterprises and ensure that the 30 to 40% underinsured find solution against that problem. And education, meaning education is becoming also very important to alleviate that. My last task for today is by 2030 embedded AI-driven insurance orchestration will redefine risk as a real-time service layer, adaptive, contextual, and continuous. And I believe that is what you are trying to build. Any last word for our listeners and viewers today, Andrei? What you would like them to remember?
Yeah, I think we would like to tell everybody that they shouldn't lose hope into the insurance market. We understand the issues out there, especially nowadays, and we promise that we will find a solution as an industry, and we make insurance great, and that people can really trust this industry. And this is what we would like to everybody who is listening, that they should lose hope, that we definitely will work on this. And we started, very big investors invest in this market now to really improve it. So this shows already that there's a big interest around a solution there.
Yeah. So where can people find you if they want to, meet with you? They will have to come to California, but at least speak with you.
Yeah, so we are, as I said, we have an office in Mission in San Francisco. So really at the heart where also OpenAI's headquarters was before. And you can find us on riskcube.com. So everything is there. You can get the quote later this year there, and everything is around the website. So riskcube.com.
Wonderful. Well, Andrei, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Scouting for Growth. Please subscribe, share with friends, and leave a 5-star rating. Your rating is so valuable. I review all of them, and my team help me adapt content to meet your needs. Also, connect with me on my preferred channels. I am a B2B growth expert, so you will find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Threads, and X as well as Blue Sky. All information available below. Until next, keep scouting for growth.